Arsenal's tactics will be very different next season under Arteta. I'll be explaining why Zubimendi will completely change their build-up, why Odegaard and Rice will have new roles, and why Sesko could transform Arsenal's attack. So how will these new signings change Arsenal? And exactly how will Arteta's new tactics look? So this was Arteta's ideal setup last season. It's really, really strong on paper, but during build-up, they definitely had some problems. To understand why this was, let's take a look at that first phase of play for Arsenal, because Arteta instructed Raya to play short passes to one of the centre-backs, but this often then led to recurring issues. The first recurring issue being the next phase of play, where the centre-backs would look to pass the ball centrally. But these spaces proved hard to come by, and the ball often went wide. And if you have a look at Timber's positioning here, he's got closed body language, which means a pass to Saka is impossible, and a central pass is also a little bit too risky, and so the move then breaks down after just 2 passes. The second problem was Odegaard's positioning. And to show you this, it all begins with looking at Partey's passes last season, which were typically played to the right or backwards. Over the past 3 seasons, his passes into the final third have dropped sharply. And here's why. During build-up, his passing options have become pretty limited, often forced to play lateral passes that don't really penetrate or ask any questions in the final third. And so why has this become an issue suddenly? Here, Odegaard drops deep to receive the ball from Saliba in this pocket when there's no real need to. Saliba could have easily passed to Partey, who can play the ball forward. And this pass means that there's no immediate danger. You can even see, look closely, Anthony Gordon's body language saying, "Calm down, it's fine." Please don't hate me. Odegaard takes 6 touches before passing to Thomas Partey. That slow tempo, it lets Newcastle form a block, and a forward pass is almost impossible because the forward pass would ideally be to himself. Even when Arsenal were chasing the game against Liverpool, Odegaard dropped deep towards Partey, Trossard moved towards the ball, and the wingers were high, they were wide, leaving this huge unoccupied space centrally. And even when Martinelli notices the space, makes a lovely darting run, which he's always willing to do, Odegaard doesn't risk the pass. Instead, he's playing it into Partey again, and the tempo remains slow. And this is where Zubimendi comes in. His skill set can completely transform Arsenal's build-up. So look at what happens when Zubimendi's on the ball. There is an abundance of central presence, nobody's deep, and he's looking forward, not laterally. And with many players in the middle, it opens space out wide, meaning the switch is also available for Zubimendi, of which he is not afraid to play. And here, they play it straight into Zubimendi. Despite the pressure from the opposition, he takes it on the back foot, opens up, and plays it forward, no fuss. Zubimendi helps Sociedad play at a high tempo, meaning the opposition can't settle into their structure, and that caused displacements and confusion. Don't believe me? Well, look a little bit closer and you can see this Alaves player is so confused, he's marking the referee. This next trait can transform Arsenal, as it's something that they don't currently have, and it will see him popping up in a totally different position. So he starts in the middle of the pitch, but by the time he receives the ball just 4 seconds later, he's drifted left. Now it's a hallmark move for playmaking defensive midfielders. Don't believe me? Well, here's Vitinha doing the exact same thing. And if you still don't believe me, here's Toni Kroos, maybe the best to ever do it. So how is this going to benefit Arsenal? Zubimendi moving to this area in possession, it means that there's no need for Lewis Skelly to be out wide. He can move inside, which he loves to do. It suits his profile down to the ground. And most importantly, this will work really, really well against 4-4-2 blocks, something that I think a lot of teams are looking to find solutions as to get around that 4-4-2 block. One of the strikers or the midfielder will possibly look to press him, and if the striker presses, you can go inside, then forwards. And if the right winger presses, you can use Lewis Skelly's positioning to go inside. Then outside to Martinelli into the final third. And if the opposition don't press, well, you've got 3 Arsenal players in central areas, meaning the ball can then be punched through into these spaces. Alternatively, Rice can make these forward runs and the ball can be worked quickly through the gaps with tempo. And it's these movements that allow Arsenal to really push back the opposition's double pivot to create this central box. That's going to increase their dominance centrally whilst also having those options out wide. But what about the final third? Because Arsenal scored the 3rd most goals in the league last season with 69. However, their expected goals from open play was just 58.4, which is a significant drop from the previous 2 seasons. And a big part of that underperformance has to be said it was impacted by injuries. Arteta's use of Kai Havertz gives us, I think, a bit of a clue as to how he plans to use a new striker. He would often drop into these spaces when playing as a striker, opening a central passing lane for Partey during build-up. This meant that Odegaard could stay that little bit higher. Opposition players would be drawn in, allowing Arsenal to play it back and around. And that was a great use of Havertz in build-up. However, Havertz did average just 2.5 shots per 90, ranking him in the bottom 43%. And he had 0.45 expected goals per 90, which is in the bottom 41%. It left a lot to be desired when it comes to attacking output. And Arsenal, they need a striker that can build up and can also be really effective in and around the box. Gyökeres or Sesko, both are great options, and Sesko has an incredibly high ceiling. Despite Sesko averaging the same shots per 90 as Havertz, it's his unique skill set that is likely to be the reason that Arteta specifically wants him. Here's Sesko dropping deep, showing the same qualities as Kai Havertz. Instead of a safe pass to the closest man, he finds a teammate out wide in masses of space and triggers the whole team forward. In the process, he drags the opposition centre-backs out of their defensive line, and that is a tool that I think Arteta will definitely use. And it must be noted that in tighter spaces, his first touch needs improvement. It's something that Arteta must work on for me. But also, what about his goals? With Sesko, you're going to get crazy moments because of his pure technique and how much he loves a shot from range. And you're also going to see the benefit from his size when in and around the box. Two defenders are on Sesko whilst the ball is in the air. He uses his upper body strength and awareness to cushion it for a Pender who scores. He's also really, really mobile, which I think is an underrated element here. That blistering pace, that willingness to get on the end of passes played into the channels like this is something that will allow Arsenal to move up the pitch quickly, but also retain the ball and then have a bit of space in that final third. He's also got a bit of trickery in his box as well. Oh dear Lord. The skill gets him into a better position to shoot, and he finishes it well. And although, in my opinion, Havertz's overall hold-up play is better, Benjamin Sesko is a very, very exciting player and also has that box presence. So, what exactly does this mean for Arsenal? In possession, I think you should expect this sort of movement to be really, really common from Sesko, moving ahead of that double pivot to receive the ball as well. But for this to work, Odegaard and Rice have to stay high. Their movement needs to be forwards and it needs to be positive. Zubimendi's ability to punch the ball through central areas means that there shouldn't be a need for Odegaard or Rice to drop deep. In the opposition's half, when Sesko gets the ball, rather than pass to players first time backwards, he's likely going to want to take that touch, turn, and he needs to have those runners in the final third. It's going to be essential to an effective attack. If he passes to Odegaard, this is likely going to be the move they want to execute in the box. Sesko will look to pin a centre-back using that size, allowing you to have Rice as a floater at the back post or to move where the space is. And actually, this could be really, or equally as useful with Mikel Merino, because he also has that great movement in and around the box. Arsenal's spine is going to be used so much more frequently next season, meaning a more centralised approach at times. The final piece of Arteta's team would be replacing Martinelli on the left, who had 12 goals and assists last season. They need more output here too. But who will that be? I broke down every phase of Arteta's tactics to reveal what's really going on. Click here to watch.